So I've had my Gardena R50 Li Robo Mower for about 6 years now, and it's worked perfectly. I've never had any issues with it at all, and I keep pointing this way because it stands right over there, but you can't see that, so it looks just weird. Why am I pointing this way? But it's worked great. I've never had any issues with it other than these damn cables. I am so sick and tired of these cables. I must have cut them at least 20-30 times. Every time I want to do something in the lawn, if you want to scarify, I cut through the wire. If you want to power rake, you cut through the wire. If you want to do some aeration, you cut through the wire. Every time I want to do something, I cut through the wire. So I am sick and tired of these. So I've been looking to find a Robo Mower that doesn't use cables anymore. So I'm super happy that Mowing actually sent me a Luba to try, because I don't think I can deal with another cut cable again. I mean, I'm seriously starting to get mental health issues. Every time I'm out in the lawn doing something, I'm super scared that I'm gonna cut through the cable again. And last year I think I cut through it at least 3 or 4 times, and then I said no more. I contacted a gardening company, and they said, well, we have a strong cable. They even showed me a YouTube clip where they are pulling a car with the cable. They said, this is the strongest cable there is. You can't break it, it's unbreakable. So I said, well, great, then I want that one. And I started doing my edges, and I cut through the cable again. I was so annoyed the rest of that day. So annoyed. Well, at least now I can try a Robo Mower without a cable. So let's open this up. All right, so we have the quick start guide. Am I throwing this away? Nah, I usually don't read instructions and end up messing things up. So this one I'm actually gonna keep, and I'm actually gonna read it. First, let's see what's in here. All right, so I've unpacked everything. So this is the actual Luba. It's a bit bigger than the Gardena R50, and it's heavier. They're almost the same size. All right, so it's actually the next day. Since it started raining, I had to just move everything in. Now I put everything out again. So this is all that was included in the box. So here you have the pole for the antenna, and this is the base station, so the charging station. A lot of cables, front bumper, the actual antenna stuff, more cables, and this is the actual Luba. It looks so cool. I mean, it looks like a race car. By far the coolest Robo Mower I've ever seen. But before we get into the actual specifics of the mower, let's just first assemble everything and get it going. Because from other YouTube videos I've seen on this thing, it seems a bit tricky to get the satellite thing all connected and working. So first let's assemble everything, and then we'll move on to the actual mower. I'm all grown up. Look at me reading instructions. Kind of have to, there's just so much stuff. I'm not sure if the instructions I got are old or something, but the instructions I found online from Mowing themselves, they're almost identical, but the one online actually includes what's included in the box, and this one did not. So it's actually easier to figure out what cable is which by reading the instructions online. So I'm just gonna follow this instead. So the cable with the triangular connector, that's for the charging. So charging the base station. And then we have the cable for the actual RTK reference station. It's this one. That's the smaller cable. All right, now that we know which cable is which, let's move on. So you start off with the small cable. That's the RTK reference station cable. It says it needs to go through here. So we're gonna put it through here. And then you connect it here on the back side. There you go. And then we have the longest cable. That one also goes through the back and connects right next to the other one. There you go. So now we're gonna assemble the metal rod, or the pole, whatever you want to call it. And you have the trident thing here. That goes in here. And then you have to play Aquaman for a while. I mean, how could you not with a trident? Or Poseidon, whatever you want. Looks kind of dangerous though. All right, now it's time to put the base station where it's supposed to be. So let's go back here and switch out the base station of the old Robo Mower. So back here is where I have the Robo Mower, and I've just put some wooden boards there just to make it flat. And this is pretty much the only place I have. All around the lawn I have these stone borders, so there's really no other possibilities than this. So I really hope this works, even though the new one is a bit bigger. I think that's flat enough. Now I actually drilled some new holes into the wood. Then you use these plastic screws. I have to figure out what to do with the cables from the old mower. Now this is the thick cable I was talking about. Look how thick that is. It's supposed to be unbreakable. I can tell you it's not. It breaks very easily. So you have a bag with all this plastic stuff, and then you have 4 of these screws. You put these in here, and then you get an Allen key to use. So you just screw those on. I just realized you don't have to have this thing around the pole, making it easier. You have this screw here that kind of tightens it and loosens it. So if you loosen it all the way, you can actually get into the pole without having the screws in. All right, now we can put it around the pole. And you just tighten the screw, and there you go. And then we have an antenna here. You can just screw that on. So now I'm supposed to find a suitable place for this. It's supposed to be in open air. I'm just gonna put it right behind and see if that works. So let's plug this in and see if we get a green light. Usually I never get a green light. You never get a green light on the first try. There's always something wrong. Ever the optimist. Oh, let's try this. Please be a green light, please be a green light. We have a green light, we have green smoke, we have green smoke. Guess what movie that is from? Leave a comment below if you know what movie that is from. I see green smoke, I see green smoke. So I was so excited I had a green light over here. I forgot to check that we had a green light on the reference station as well, but we do. So this one is supposed to be blinking, but then after a couple of minutes it should go over to a constant green, and we have constant green, so everything is okay. And reading the manual I can see that the small power supply, that's for the reference station if you want to put it somewhere else and not have power from the base station itself. I mean, my idea was to put it on the wall over here, just to give it a nice place up high where there's no interference or anything. Because you can get an accessory like this and put this on the wall and mount the reference station on this instead. All right, next step is to put on the garage. So this is also an accessory, so you have to buy this separately. And the garage is really simple to put on. You just put it on there, and then you have these 2 screws in the back, and there you go. There you have the garage. Awesome. All right, next step. We're almost done. Now we just need to use this orange thing. I think this is just a security key. There you go. Last thing is to just put on the front bumper. There you go. I think that was the final step. So now we just set it up through the app. I already downloaded the MyMotion app and created an account. So now I just need to add the Luba. All right, so we're supposed to put this in the charging stations. So let's lift it and put it in the charging station. Of course, I forgot to power it on. All right, something beeped at least. So let's search for it again. Now it's connecting. So now I found it at least. Connected to Wi-Fi. All right, so it's added to the Wi-Fi now. Self-checking process. Next step is to upgrade the firmware. And I like this. With a new product like this, there's bound to be some issues. I mean, always when you release new products onto the market, then you get a lot of people buying them, testing them. Of course, they're gonna find stuff. It's like releasing a new car. There's always gonna be some early issues. But this way, they can actually fix the issues and send out updates. I like that. With the Gardena I have, there are no updates. The one you got, that's the one you got. It's not connected to Wi-Fi or anything. You can't put in a USB stick, upgrade firmware, you can't do anything. So now we just wait until it upgrades the firmware, and then we'll see where we're at. So I'm done upgrading the firmware, and now when I do the self-check, I have green light on Bluetooth, charging signal is fine, self-test is fine, RTK reference station is fine. So apparently this spot was okay, so I don't need to move it over there. All right, now I guess we just need to create the actual perimeter for the mower, where it's gonna mow. Please leave the charging station before starting to create or modify. What do you mean leave the charging station? All right, it went out from the station after I pressed that, tried to run me over. So I'm just gonna reset my camera so you guys can see what I'm doing, and then we'll continue on. So I guess now we should be able to create our grid. My phone is not fully charged, but it should be enough. Remove toys. I have nothing on the lawn. I understand. Draw the boundary. It's like a video game. So I'm gonna go as close to the edge as I can. There we go. All right, I just keep walking after it, I guess. All right, the planning is done. Apparently I don't have over 200 square meters anymore because of the borders. That's also interesting to see. So now we just save this. Now, one of the more exciting things about installing these things is always to see if it can actually go back into the charger by itself or if you need to adjust anything. So it's on its way back now, so let's see. Hopefully it should just work. I'm actually quite surprised it's gone this smooth so far. I'm waiting for something to go wrong, so maybe this is it. Let's see. Here it comes. Please work, please work. It's not looking good. Well, it actually went up on the border, but let's see now. Is that it? Is it charging? It's actually charging. It worked. Now, well, almost worked. It went up on the border, but I can live with that. Either I just move the border a bit further in, or I'll just live with that. It's not the end of the world. All right, so that's it with the installation. I think it took about an hour, although I am recording and I have to move the camera and stuff, so I think about an hour. But for me, everything worked perfectly the first time. Now we just need to see how it mows. First, I'm gonna set it to mow my own lawn for about a week, but then I'm also gonna add another section. So I'm gonna add a section over at my neighbors, and I wanna see if the mower can actually handle going over to their lawn. Since I have these borders over here, it has to go just the normal way around the house. So that means going out on the driveway and going on their driveway and into the lawn. We'll see if it can handle that. I'm not actually setting that section just yet because I haven't actually asked the neighbors yet if I'm allowed to go over to their lawn with a Robo Mower. Imagining waking up one morning seeing a Robo Mower just mowing your lawn. I think they would be happy, but that means they need to clean up the lawn a bit so I don't run over anything they want to keep, some toys or something. That would be very unfortunate. But for now, for the next few weeks, I'm just gonna let it mow and see how it mows. So I'll check back in a couple of days. All right, so now it's been over a month since I set up the Luba, and I've been using it a lot. So it's been cutting almost every other day or even every day sometimes. I've been wanting to try out the different modes and stuff, so I've been mowing a lot with it. And I wanted to use it a bit before I give any opinions about it, but it just finished mowing, so let's have a look how it looks. It has 3 different modes you can choose. I often choose the fine cutting mode, and then it does 2 passes. It does 1 pass like this, and then it does 1 pass like this. I mean, you can almost see the stripes after it's done, and this is what I like the most about it. Quality of the cutting is super awesome, especially compared to my Gardena. I mean, that one just cut randomly, it seemed, and I never really liked that because it gives the lawn a messy look, and you have spots where it misses, so you'll end up with a mowed lawn on different spots, and then you have higher spots, and it just doesn't look good. So for my Gardena to be able to mow the entire lawn completely and not leave any high spots, it took about 4, 5, even 6 days. And then I used it about 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours during evenings, so almost 4 hours per day. And then it took 4, 5, even 6 days to mow the entire lawn because it went just randomly. But with the Luba, it plans the cutting route. So if it starts over here, it just cuts like this all the way. And if the battery stops, or if you stop the mowing, you want to go out on the lawn and do something, then it remembers that you stopped right here, and the next time you start it after it's charged, or you want it to start mowing again, it starts exactly where it stopped, and then it continues on until it's done with the entire lawn. And for my lawn, the fine cutting mode, it takes about 2.5 hours, almost 3, then the entire lawn is done. And if you take the efficient cutting mode, then it just does 1 pass, then it only takes about 40 minutes, which is awesome. If you just want to have a quick mow, 40 minutes, and it's a planned route, so you don't miss any spots, so it's awesome. And it also has dual cutting plates, so the cutting width is about 40 centimeters, so 400 millimeters, so it's pretty wide, so it doesn't need as many passes as my Gardena did. It only had 1 plate, and I couldn't help myself. I got the F1 stickers on this. It just makes it look so cool. I mean, it already looks like an F1 car. Why not get the stickers too? And also it has these sensors, so whenever it starts raining, it can detect that it started raining, and usually you don't want to mow when it rains, because not only will that affect the cutting quality, you might also end up making mud piles here and there when the wheels turn and stuff. So whenever those sensors detect rain, it sends the Luba back. So I have one more thing I want to try out with the Luba. Since this is a Luba 1000 and it can handle 1,000 square meters, I mean, I have only about 180, so my idea is that it should be able to handle my lawn and my neighbor's lawn. So I've actually set up a passage between our houses, and I want to see if it can handle both my lawn and their lawns as well. And since it says it can handle about 1,000 square meters, then you could actually handle all 3 lawns. So that neighbor over here and that neighbor over here and my own lawn. But for this test, I'm just gonna stick to that lawn over here. And another interesting thing over here is that you can see that they have a big slope over here, and the Luba 1000 can handle slopes up to 65%, I think it said, or something like that, 33 degrees. So I'm interested to see how it will handle this slope, especially since the lawn is a bit wet. I want to see if it just slides down or if it can handle the slope. So let's start up the Luba and see how it handles the passage. I'm really excited to see how it does handle the passage. I have no idea. This is the first time I've ever tried it. But isn't it awesome that you can actually get some stripes with the Luba? I mean, it's not stripes like with the cylinder mower, but you can still see some stripes. I think the cutting quality is awesome. All right, let's see how it handles the passage. So it has to go from here over to my neighbors over on that side. Feels like I'm out walking the dog, but instead of a dog, I'm walking my mower. All right, now it reached their zone, so we'll see how it does and if it doesn't lose connection or anything, since the station is all the way over at my house. So we'll see how it mows. Yeah, they have taller grass here, so I think the high grass setting is the one to go with here. Have fun, little dude. Please don't break anything. This isn't my yard. All right, so I've had the Luba going for about a week between us and the neighbors. So it's been going over about once every other day, and it's been handling it perfectly. It hasn't stopped because it loses connection or anything. It handles the passageway without any issues. The only problem is that the neighbors keep calling me saying that my mower is out and about. And I keep telling them it's according to plan. But at least it's nice that they worry about my mower. But it does look a bit weird when it goes out onto the road, but it is what it is. But it handles it well, so if it mows my own lawn, then it goes over to theirs. Then it can take one section, then it has to recharge, so it goes back and recharges, and then goes back and finishes everything off. So it's been working perfectly well, and it can handle all the slopes. It hasn't gotten stuck anywhere. It gives a nice cut even in the slope. So let's go have a look at the rest and see how it looks when it mows their lawn. That's the efficient cutting, so that's not the fine cutting. It only goes one pass. But to be honest, when looking at that, I actually changed my own setting to efficient cutting. I mean, that's good enough. I don't feel like I really need the double pass. It just takes a lot of extra battery. So let's go over there and have a look how it's looking. So this is the slope. I didn't want it to go any further down because here we have some rocks, stones and stuff, and I don't want to damage the mower in any way. So this is kind of where I drew the line. But as you can see, it is a pretty good, decent slope, and it can still handle it pretty well. All right, so as you can see, I mean, it's cutting it pretty nice. I love that you have an even pattern. It's not just random everywhere. Now this spot, that's because they had a trampoline over here, so it avoided the trampoline. Look at the pattern, it's looking awesome. I'm happy. They're happy, they're getting their lawn mowed, everyone's happy. All right, so as you could see, I mean, it's mowing the lawn really well. So are there any negative things about the Luba? There's one thing that has annoyed me a bit. So let me show you guys. So I put my perimeter pretty close to the edge, and I'm not sure if this is because it loses signal strength around the corner here, but it can't really tell well enough that I've set the border right here and not further. It still ends up sometimes going over the stone border and getting stuck here. So 2 weeks ago I increased the distance between the stone border and the perimeter, so I moved it to about here. It's better now, but sometimes it still doesn't sense that the border is here, so it ends up going all across over here. I'm not sure why it does that. It has to be some positioning thing, because I have set the perimeter quite a bit of distance from the stone border just so that stuff doesn't happen. But it's not all the time, and it seems pretty random where it does go over and not. and since it is all-wheel drive, it goes over the border with ease. And since in some areas the stone border is lower than the front bumper, so the bumper doesn't touch and gives a signal that you should back, so it just goes over. But that's about the only negative thing I've found. Everything else has been working perfect. To be honest, I thought that it would lose connection more often, but connection wise it hasn't lost connection a single time. And I love the app. I love that you can control all of these aspects. You can set the exact cutting height, you can set which zone to cut in, you can set it where not to go, where to go, which time, what pattern you want. It's awesome. Now that might be normal on newer mowers, but since the one I had was 6-7 years old, none of that existed then. So for me, it's really awesome. And as I said, the cutting quality, I'm actually really impressed. It's up to a standard that I even don't feel like I need to mow sometimes. Now, I shouldn't be saying this because I do want to mow myself, but for a lawn nerd like me, the cutting quality is super. So yeah, I'm really impressed with the Luba, and really try to consider sharing one with your neighbors. I mean, it is pricey. All these Robo Mowers are pricey. Even the Gardena we bought back then was really pricey. But putting a cable between neighbors, I mean, that's just too much. But when you can do it this easily, that's really something to consider. Sharing it, I mean, we could share it with 3 neighbors if I had to. The one I have is the Luba 1000, so we can handle 1,000 square meters, so we can easily just share it with both that neighbor and this neighbor and my own lawn. So I would really recommend to share it with a neighbor if you can. But for now, there's only a few mows left for this season, so the rest of the season I'm gonna mow myself, because for the next 5-6 months Sweden will be in a freezer with no lights, so there won't be much to mow, and I'm really dying to get a few more mows done before the season ends. So the Luba will only mow the neighbor's lawn for now. I'll take care of my lawn, but for next season, whenever I'm not at home, or if I'm sick or get a cold, I don't have time to mow, if I don't feel like it, I have no troubles letting the Luba mow. So go check it out if you want, and I'll see you guys in the next video.